So what we'll be doing today is we'll take, because this is a revision class. In the past few weeks, we started with installing and configuring servers. Then we moved on to um, configuring server roles and features. Then we moved on to configuring Hyper-V. So we'll just basically do a revision of all these ones and see how we're getting on with these three stages. So which are the best way to do it than to practice some questions together and show in the lab. So what we're going to do is, let me see. So we'll practice some questions together, starting from section 1, where we talked about installing and configuring servers, configuring local storage and all that. So the first question that we'll be doing today is question 186. So what we'll do is we'll go through the question. We give you an answer on why you think that's the answer. So you have to give the reason why you think that's the answer. And then, yeah, somebody.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun. It will be really fun. Then somebody will show us how to do it on the server itself. So let me actually just switch on the servers quickly so they boot up. Power on the Hyper-V and power on this one. Okay, first question, 186. You have a Hyper-V. Is this, should I make this bigger or can you see this clearly? Can you see the screen clearly, or do you want me to make the text bigger?
Yeah, it's great.
I think yes,
Yeah.
That
Okay.
will do it. Yeah.
Nice one. So it says you have a Hyper-V host named host1. Host1 contains two virtual machines named VM1 and VM2. VM1 is configured as a print server. VM1 runs Windows Server 2008 R2. VM2 is configured as a file server. VM2 runs Windows Server 2012 R2. You need to migrate all of the printers on VM1 to VM2. Which actions should you perform on the virtual machines? To answer, drag the appropriate action to the correct servers in the answer area. Basically, the question is, if we want to migrate printers from a 2008 R2 server to a 2012 R2 server, what are the things that you do? So VM1 is the 2008 server that has the printers. VM2 is the new server with 2012 R2. So those are the options. What's your answer and why do you think that's the answer? So who wants to go first? So just read the question slowly. You don't need to be in a hurry. Just think about it. So here we have the first thing that we dealt with was installation and migration. So here we have a migration scenario of moving printers, which is also useful in the real world because these are the sort of things that you may have to do in the real world. So you have a 2008 R2 print server. You want to move to a 2012 R2 print server, but you want to move all your printers across. So what do you do? Krishna, you want to go first? What do you think? What do you think is the answer and why?
I think the first thing we need to do is install the Windows Server migration tools in the VM1.
Okay, so install.
Because
yeah,
this tool gives you a lot of options. You can migrate a different service.
Yeah.
But the another tools, the another task could be install the print and document service role on the VM2. And the last one, I don't know the last one for real.
Okay. So what do you think? Who else wants to go next? Who agrees or disagrees with Krishna's answer?
I agree with the migration tools on VM1, and then on VM2 we need the roles basically. And the second step, importing those printers to VM2.
Yeah. So you install the row and then you install the printers. Okay. Next one. So who wants to go next? Amin or Hilda? So who wants to go next? So we have Krishna. Krishna says, number one thing that we'll probably do is um, run smig deploy, right? Is that what you mean? The first one, run smig deploy.
No, the first one is install the make deploy in VM1.
Yep. Okay, on VM1. Then on VM2, you said we'll install the print and document services role, but you're not sure what the last one is.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Enrique supports the first point of installing Windows Server migration tools on VM1. On VM2, he says we're gonna um, install the print and document services role, and then the last one we'll do is we import the printers, right? Yeah. So, I mean, what's your answer and why? Hmm? Is Amin there?
Installing, on VM1 we need to install the migration tools, because I think that's the first.
Yeah, so after that, what do we do?
We are on to.
I can hear you again.
Yeah, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the first step is on VM1, I think, is the migration setup where you install the Windows Server migration tools. And then I think on VM2, the role, which is install the print and document services. And then the third step would be to import those printers from VM1.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about those commands either for the PowerShell or.
Yeah. Okay. So what about you, like you? What's your answer? What's the reason why you think that's the answer?
I checked out my print server and I have the answer right now.
You've seen the answer. Should I tell you what about this one? This one is a bit of a tricky one. I must tell you that I fell for this also until I did the research more on Microsoft website. So, because according to Microsoft, what they've said is Microsoft advice is this: if you want to do any migration, there's no standard way. The advice is for any migration, go to our website and look for the migration advice for the role that you're talking about. So for many roles, you need to install the Windows Server migration tools. But for some roles, you don't need to install the Windows Server migration tools. So this is one of the roles that you don't need to install Windows Server migration tools. But Microsoft, I think they've put this question in to confuse people because you just finished studying migration where they talk to you about migration tools. So instantly your mind is thinking migration tools. But in there, they've already told us to say there's no standard way. Go to the website to find out for any role. If you want to migrate DNS, go find out what our advice is for DNS. It's different from our advice for DHCP. So
yeah, I share my remote desktop so you can see the option here. So it's possible to export the printer to a file. And when you do that, he export the name, the printer driver, and the config on the printer.
Yeah.
So the right question is export, install the role, and import.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's the right one. So if you show us how to export it again, so how did you export it?
Tell me.
So if you show us how you export it again, so where did you export it?
Oh, I run the print manager
Yep.
in the print server
Mm-hmm.
and right click in the print server
Yeah.
and export printer to file.
Yeah.
That's the option.
Yeah. Yeah. So nice one. So that's basically the answer. So is that clear? Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. So is that clear at all? What Krishna said, is that clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
Chris,
yeah.
I don't know exactly the functions the migration tool has, but they have this function too to migrate print servers.
Yes. So
Yes.
for print servers, so Krishna, if you share
No.
your screen again, so for print servers, we don't actually need to install the migration tools. For
Okay.
print server, so on this link, for print server, we can actually go directly from print management and export and import. So Krishna, if you share your screen again,
Oh yes. Wait
yeah.
a second.
So Krishna will share his screen and show us again what to do. So So this is one of the roles that we don't need to install the migration tools. Yeah. So yeah, we can see your screen now.
You see the print server manager here. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it on your screen. It's not coming up. Yeah, I can see it now.
In the print server, you have the export here and the import.
Yeah. So basically, from print management, you can basically go and export the printers to file. So what that's going to do, it is actually going to export the printers, the drivers of the printers, the IP address of the printers, export everything to a single file. So now you transfer the file to your new print server and you go under print management and you import them.
Okay.
And in what format
But
that file is? Is it just standard XML file or is it just?
It's a different type of file. Let me, so actually if you go through with the export, Krishna, so let's see the type of file. So it's not actually like an XML file. They call it, because it contains the driver also. So they call it print migration file, something like that. So if you click next, you can always delete it. So you can go, yeah, so just give it the name. Yes, so can you see? So it's the type is not XML, it's printer migration file. So
Mm-hmm.
it will contain the drivers also. So it will be a large file if you have many printers. So so you transfer
Chris,
that. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
uh, when you move your printer server from to another hardware,
Yeah.
and the client on the client side,
Mhm.
there any changes? I mean, map the printer again or something like that.
Yes.
It depends. Uh, well, it's just if you keep the old one, but if you remove the old one and rename the new one to the
Old one.
old one name,
Yeah.
so you don't need to remap the printer. You got it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't need to care about the IP address.
Yeah, you don't need to care because you have DNS in
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
your network.
Yeah.
If you change the name of the new server to the old one, you don't need to remap the printer.
Mm,
Yeah. Actually,
got it.
actually what people would do, like more in the real world, is they will use the C name. Remember the C name in DNS. So the C name is a canonical name, which is an alias.
Yeah.
Alias, yes.
So they will use an alias to point. So instead of changing the name, so I can give the new server any name that I want. But all I need to do is decommission the old one and create a C name of the old one to point to the new one.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
correct.
So we just an alias. So that's what many people do in the real world.
This is the file, you see?
Yep, I can see.
So I just need to import this in the new server, right?
Yes. Mhm. Enrique, I'm concerned about you, man. I hope your wife is not upset. Well, we're recording this.
The
Where
problem is my wife is boring me. Just I can't keep my attention.
Yeah, no, I understand, man. So if you need to go take care of your wife, if you need to go take care of your wife, go take care of your wife, man. Ladies are different from guys. Ladies, they like attention, so you have to give them attention.
She
Otherwise,
makes me crazy.
they'll be upset, man. You have to.
Okay.
My wife is like that too, man. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, one has to give them attention. Otherwise, they'll. Yeah.
I always say to her, I don't have a very good English,
Yeah.
and I need to pay much attention
Mm.
on everything what you are saying. Okay, so oh, forget it.
No, that's normal, man. Ladies are different. They're emotional creatures. So yeah, okay. So we get that about
Okay.
printer. So let's move to the to the next question. So believe me, like I mean, feel free. Like if you need to go take care of your wife, feel free. We can always handle our own different session. We can create a special session for you or for men that have wives. So we'll create another session for EST group, GMT group, and married men. So
Okay.
so let's go for the next one. Next question. So that would be because I listed all the questions. Question number 32. Question 32. Let's find that. Here we go. Question 32. So question 32 says you have a server named Server 1 that runs Windows Server 2012 R2. You plan to create a storage pool that will contain a new volume. You need to create a new 600 gigabyte volume by using team provisioning. The new volume must use the parity layout. What is the minimum number of... Okay, yeah, by the way, before we go ahead, let's just quickly go back to... Um, let's quickly go back to question 186. So let's quickly go back so we can just mention the answer to that. So question 186, the answer is basically on VM1, which is the old Server 2008 R2. First thing you need to do is you export the printers. So from print management, export the printer. So that's this one, you export the printers. Then the next thing you do is you install the print and document services role on VM2. Because if you don't install the print and document services role, you won't have the print management MMC snapping. So that's the next thing you do. So you export the printers first on the old one, install print and document services role on the new one, and then after that, you import the printers to the new one. So that's that. So let's go to question 32. So question 32 says you have a server named server1 runs server 2012 R2. You want to create a storage pool that will contain a new volume. You need to create a new 600 gigabyte volume by using team provisioning. The new volume must use the parity layout. What is the minimum number of 256 GB disk required for the storage pool? So you have disks that are 56 gigabyte disks. What you want to do is create a new 600 gigabyte volume using team provisioning, using parity layout. So they're asking you how many 256 gig disk do you need to create a 600 gig volume with parity?
Parity layout. I really don't know what is this.
Yeah. So first question. So what is parity layout? When they say
I
parity
think
layout.
that they are talking about RAID 5.
Um, Perfect. Absolutely correct. Absolutely excellent. Excellent. Okay. So that's it. So they're talking about basically RAID with parity. So you know what RAID with parity means, right? You? Um, Krishna.
No, I don't.
So Enrique, do you want to help explain RAID with parity to Krishna?
Uh, when we have a such a control to permit recover the data when a disk goes down. It is a kind of calculus to to permit the recovery of the data. Every if you, for example, if you have three disks, you have just two disks that can count on the space. So if you have three disks of 100 gigabytes, actually in RAID 5 you have a counter with just two of these disks, because the third one is used to pair it, to make some calculus to give the possibility to recover the data. I don't know if I was clear.
So is that clear? Is that clear, Krishna?
It's a little bit. I'm looking for information about that. But I think
So what it does is basically it gives you kind of the system kind of self, assign like an allowance in case one of the drive fails, the other one kind of kicks in. It's not exactly mirroring, but you can just hot swap it and smart or what it does, it just try to write all the data which was on that drive back onto the new drive.
So can you see, you can see the screen, right? So actually, let me share my screen. So let me share. So if I go, um, what? So let me share my screen so we can quickly Microsoft Word 2013. I'm sure something is opening. Okay, if that's not opening, let's just go to a normal. Yeah, let's bring up WordPad on this one. Okay, so let's go. Is there a table on in WordPad? There's no table at all. Uh-oh, we don't have table in WordPad. Okay, Word is opened on my machine. So I'll share my screen now, guys, so you can see my screen. So if I go, um,
yes, I'm see.
yeah, okay. So share screen. Yeah. So can you see my screen now? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So for the whole RAID and storage thing, think about it as you have one disk. So you have one disk, and basically all the data that you're writing on this disk. So let's say any data that you're writing in the storage world, it's zeros and ones. So you created a new Word document. You save the Word document as uh, Krishna dot docx. Yeah. So when this one is written to your storage, it's not written as krishna.docx. This is converted to basically binary, or by binary we mean on and off, because that's what your disk is. So it's just basically switching things on and off. So it just converts it to that and it stores it on your disk as that. So let's say krishna.x equals 0100100. So let's say that was krishna.x means. Your processor basically takes all these, copies it, and writes everything to the disk, and you're done. That's one disk. But let's say in a situation that you don't have one disk, you can set up something called RAID 1. So RAID 1, it's called mirror. And what that means is you have two disks that mirror one another. Just like you look at yourself in the mirror, you see an image of yourself. So what happens is when you have two disks and you set them up as RAID 1, when your CPU wants to write this, it basically passes it to what is called the RAID controller. And the RAID controller will go, okay, you want to write 0, we'll take the 0 and go 0 here, 0 here. Take the 1 and go 1 here, 1 here. Take the next 0 and go 0 here, 0 here. Now, what's the advantage to this method, or using this? What's the advantage to it?
In case one of them dies, the other one is still live and you can still carry on working.
That's one advantage. What about in terms of performance? Is there any advantage in terms of performance?
The performance, if it's exact mirroring, I think it will slow down the system.
Exactly, because now you have to write twice, right? But what about read performance? Is there any impact on read performance?
It will.
So in the storage world, we're usually concerned about few things. We're concerned about capacity. We're concerned about write performance. We're concerned about read performance. So you're always concerned about those in the storage world. So whatever you're configuring, you're asking yourself, what impact does it have on write performance? What impact does it have on read performance? Because there are some applications that they are write, they utilize a lot of write performance. What type of application would that be that uses a lot of write performance? Any application that you can think of that uses a lot of write performance? Your SQL, right?
Yes.
Lots of write. Maybe your file server, maybe. It depends. If lots of people are uploading lots of documents to it, what type of application do you think could be utilizing a lot of read performance? Your web server, right? Because your web server is basically a server that's sitting down, right? And people are basically accessing things from it, right? So they are reading things from your web server, right? That's what's going on. Is that correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes, is that correct?
Yeah. So you're always concerned about this too. So when you're talking about RAID 1, the impact on write performance will be there'll be a little impact on write performance, just a little. On read performance, it will actually make it faster. Do you know why it's going to make it faster for read performance? Anybody? Enrique, why do you think you'll be a bit faster on read performance?
Because it reads a piece of each AG.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the double of speed, almost the double of speed. They breaks the word or the data into parts and retrieve in a faster way.
Yeah, exactly. Because now you can have, no, not pictures again. So basically, you can have one user here. let's say you have one user that's sitting down here, and this user wants to access this file. So what will happen is, as it's reading 0 from this one, it's reading 1 from this one at the same time. Because otherwise it has to read 0, then read 1. So it's reading 0 from this one, and it's reading 1 from this one. It's reading 0 from this one, and it's reading the next one from this one. So basically, you have two aggregates at the same time of disks, spinning at the
Yes.
same time. So it actually makes read performance much faster. So then we have that's read 1. Then we have, okay, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Chris,
Yeah, sure.
just a moment.
Yeah.
How it works in a right way, the data is written in the first hard disk, and just after that copied to the second one, or the some cache memory divide copied the data and write at the two disks at the same time.
Good question, Enrique. So the answer to that is, it depends on the controller. So that's what it depends on. So there are different RAID controllers that are available. So if I go, let's bring
HP one, I think.
okay, let me bring up the server that we're using. And you just go on Google and just Google RAID controller. There are lots of different RAID controllers that are available, and they may function differently depending on how they've been programmed to function. So
Okay.
some will pass the work to the CPU to do for you. So the CPU will actually be the one splitting the data stream. Some RAID controller will take over the job and will actually split the data stream themselves. Some will take it right on the first disk, like you said, they'll have it in their memory, in their cache memory, and then write on the second disk. While some will write on both disks at the same time. So it depends.
Okay.
Yeah. So it depends on the controller that you're using. So normally they will describe like,
Depends on,
yeah.
it depends on the physical controller rather than the software. Like
So even you can use software controller. So it depends on the software controller too. So yeah, but most people in the real world won't use software controller. Most people in the real world will use hardware controller.
And do you know how it works? Talking about Microsoft system.
Yeah, in Microsoft system also, you can have, to tell you, if you're talking about the real world, most people in the real world won't use Microsoft storage technologies. Because, for example, if you're doing RAID on the Microsoft level, what is basically happening is your operating system is performing the job for you. Your operating system is the one performing the job. So your operating system is the one splitting the data into streams, or so your computer is doing the job that is meant for a storage to do, or a storage server to do, or a storage array to do. So most people won't use the Microsoft one in the real world. But the thing is that they can help us learn the concept, but most people don't use the Microsoft one in the real world. Because what most people will do is, any server that you buy today, almost every server that you buy today come with RAID controllers inside them, hardware RAID controller.
yeah,
And what happens?
I give you a practical experience example. Basically, so we have generation 8 HP servers, and we are running VMware on it. But the RAID controller is HP's own one. So I guess the Microsoft one is just it depends on the server. So if you get Dell one, so Dell one will have their own one, HP will have their own
Yeah, exactly. And then
one soft skills.
yeah, exactly. And then the thing is that when you boot them, they'll have their own BIOS. So
That's right.
it's inside the BIOS, for example, RAID controller BIOS. So when you boot it, when you're booting your Windows, it will ask you and say press escape to go into BIOS, right? But now you see another option that will say press maybe delete to go into the RAID controller BIOS. So if you press escape, it can take you to the normal BIOS. If you press delete, it will take you to the RAID controller BIOS. So the RAID controller BIOS will look something like this, where you can now configure your storage itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for one that will actually show where people are configuring the disk. Yeah. So basically, it will take you into something like this, where you can configure and say, oh, disk one. Okay, yeah, here's a good one. I think this one. Yeah, here's a good one. So you can see. So it will take you into a BIOS like this, where you basically configure and say, the disk in bay 1 and the disk in bay 2, set them up as RAID 1. So this way, your CPU is not doing the processing. The RAID controller is doing the processing. So when your CPU receives, so maybe a user is like, I want to write a file, I want to save krishna.docx. When your CPU receives it, your CPU is not doing any work. Your CPU just passes it to the RAID controller. Your RAID controller is the one that takes it and says, okay, I'm going to split this into 2 streams. So some RAID controllers, like Enrique mentioned, they're going to take it and write it on one, store it in the cache memory, write it on the other. Or some will take it and write it on both at the same time. So it just depends on whichever controller you're using.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's for that. So then we have back to this one. So then we have RAID 1. RAID 3 is not in use anymore. Then RAID 5. So RAID 5 is a bit different. RAID 5, a lot of people struggle with RAID 5 because of the calculation and all that. So what basically RAID 5 does is, RAID 5 says, okay, yeah, capacity. So what's the impact of this on capacity, of RAID 1 on capacity? Because we know RAID performance, it has a little bit of impact on RAID performance in terms of make it a little bit slower. On RAID performance, it makes it a little bit faster. On capacity, what do you think the impact is?
Mm,
The impact is you lose 50% of your disk space.
50%.
Yeah. So that's the impact. So you have 5 gig or you have 4 gig, you lose 2 gig. But then the thing is you gain redundancy. So that's another one. So you're concerned about capacity,
Yeah.
you're concerned about read performance, you're concerned about write performance, and you're concerned about redundancy. So you gain redundancy, but you lose in terms of capacity. But now go to RAID 5. So this is what RAID 5 will do. So RAID 5 needs a minimum of 3 disks to work. So that is already leading us to the answer for the one that we are looking at. So RAID 5 needs a minimum of 3 disks. So let's go insert columns to the right. So it needs a minimum of 3 disks to work, RAID 5. So let's just insert, doesn't matter. Okay, so what RAID 5 would do is this. RAID 5, they call it parity. They call it, so it is striping with distributed parity. I'll explain this to you. So what it does is, let's say your computer wants to write 10. Let me maximize this one a bit. Let's make it a bit. Let's say your computer wants to write 10.10.10.1110. So your computer goes and takes 1 and puts it here. Goes and takes the next 0 and put it on disk 2. The next, then this one, it will write what is called parity in it. So your computer will be the one to calculate the parity. And I'll tell you how it calculates the parity. So then it takes the next 0 and write it on disk 2. Oh, sorry, on disk 1. Takes the, on disk 2, takes the next 1 and writes it on disk 3. And this one, it will calculate the parity and store it here. Takes the next 0 and stores it on this, on this, it doesn't matter any which way, on this one. Take the next 1 and stores it here. And the parity, it will calculate it and put it there. So your computer will be the one to calculate the parity by itself. So the idea behind it is that if something were to happen and this disk fails, your computer, from the information that is on these two disks, can calculate what is on this disk. So this is how it works. So RAID 5 works two ways. So it can either be even parity or odd parity. That's the calculation that it uses. Even parity or odd parity. It doesn't matter which one, they have the same result. So that's the calculation it uses to calculate what the parity is. And this is what even and odd parity means. So you have 1 here, you have 0 here, right? So your computer is basically saying on every stripe, if it is using even parity, on every stripe, there must be an even number of 1. So now on this stripe, you have 1, 1, right? Just a single 1 and a single 0. For 1 to be even on this stripe, what we need to be here? 1,
0.
right? 1. Because 1 has to be even. Because, 2 is an even number, right? So if you have a single 1, that is a odd number. But that is not an odd number, but it's not an even number, right? So here it goes, oh, I have 1, 1 here. I have 1, 0 here. So 1 is not even. So I'll put 1 here. So I have 0 here. So let's say this one is 1. Let's just change it a bit. Let's say this one is 1 and this one is 1. So your computer goes, I already have an even number of 1 here. So what do you think you will put here? 0. Yeah. So if it's using odd, it simply means I want an odd number of 1. So let's delete this one again. Delete, delete, delete. So assuming your computer is using odd parity, it means I have to have an odd number of 1. So it's like 1, 0. I already have an odd number of 1 here, right? So what will it do? What do you think you'll put here?
Sorry, where?
Yeah, so if it's using odd parity, so odd parity means I have to have an odd number of 1 for every stripe.
Yeah.
So what do you think you'll put here? 0. Because it already has an
0.
odd number of 1. Here, it already has how many? 1 on this stripe. Is 1 odd or even?
0 there as well.
Yeah, exactly. 0 as well, because we have 1. So what about this one?
You take out that
1
1.
is even, right? So it's like I need to have an odd number of 1 for every stripe. So this is even. So I'm going to put 1 here.
So you put 1 there. Yeah.
So here's the point. Now this one is 0, 1, 1, right? On this disk. 0, 1, 1. So let's write it down somewhere. 0, 1, 1. If something were to happen and this disk fails, your computer, from the information here, can calculate this one, because all it needs to do is that, oh, I used odd parity. So if this one is a 1 and this one is a 0, and the number of 1 on this stripe must be odd, that means this one must be a 0. So it goes here, it goes on this stripe, I don't even have 1 at all, and I must have an odd number of 1, which means the number here must be a 1. Do you get the point? So it goes here, it goes, hold on, I have even number of 1 on this stripe, and I must have odd number because I'm using odd parity. That means this one must be a 1. And that's how it will rebuild the information of this based on the parity calculation.
The calculation is just simple like that?
Yeah, exactly. Enrique said it's simple like that. It is exactly. So it's a simple concept. So it's just like, is either it's using even parity or odd parity, but from the information, it can calculate, if one disk should fail, it will calculate what is on the disk that just failed, No problem with that. It will calculate what is on the disk that just failed based on the information that already exists because it knows what I used to generate the calculation. But then the thing is, what impact do you think that will have when a disk fails? That is a big performance impact because the time that should be spent processing storage is spending it calculating parity. Is looking through all the disk stripes. I'm looking 00111 00111 so it's calculating parity like that. So many people, what they will do is they will not use just RAID 5, they will use RAID 6, where you can lose two disks. So RAID 6 uses double parity. So instead of single parity, it uses double parity. So which means you can lose two disks and it will still be functional. So what they will now do is set it so that the RAID does not, or they will say the RAID does not instantly start building once it fails. So because it can still carry on functioning, but then what they can do is say it can start building, but not start building fully with full speed, so as to avoid big impact. So back to what we're talking about. So what impact do you think this will have on capacity? This is good impact on capacity, right? Because now, how many storage space are you losing? You're losing 1/3 of your storage space, right? So basically you're using 1/hex. If you have 4 disks, you're losing 1/4. If you have 5 disks, you're losing 1/5 of your disk space. Because 1/5 of your disk space will be used for parity. So that's the impact it has on capacity. So it is better than RAID 1 in terms of capacity. But then what impact do you think it will have on write performance?
In RAID 5?
Yeah. What impact do you think this will have on write performance?
We then RAID 0 and RAID 1 writing performance, that is. Yeah, it'll be faster than RAID 0 and RAID 1.
Exactly. Write performance on RAID 5 is awesome because now it can use aggregate. It can be as it's writing to this one, it's writing to this one and writing to this one. As it's writing to this one, it's writing to this one and writing to this one at the same time. So basically, it's aggregating. It's what they call IOPS. So it's aggregating lots of storage spindles or storage performance, aggregating them and using them together. So it's like, oh, I can only write to one disk, so I'm limited to the performance of one disk. But now I have 5 disks that I can write to. So I can basically write to 5 disks at the same time and just split my performance and make it way faster. And it's the same. So with reading, it's the same thing because it can be reading 1 from this one, reading 0 from this one, and reading 0 from this one at the same time. So read performance is good, write performance is good. Redundancy is also good because you can lose one disk, right? And you've not lost any data. But the thing is, if you lose one disk, get ready for a huge performance impact. Because once you lose one disk, your computer will still carry on performance. So a user, Krishna now says to this computer, oh, I want to read krishna.docx, but this disk has already failed. What your computer will go is, your computer will be the third storage till you put in a new storage. So your computer will go, I have 1, I have 0. By the way, let me quickly calculate what is here and then send it to you. So I have 0, I have 0. Let me quickly calculate what is here by myself and send it to you. But then when you remove the damaged disk here and put in a new disk, it will calculate everything and store them back. You get the point?
Yeah, I get the point.
Yeah. So that's the point. So now, what do you think? So here's this one is I think it's a bit of a tricky one. I'm not sure if I'm absolutely correct, but I'll tell you what my opinion is in terms of the answer on this one. So I'll stop sharing now. Okay, so let's go back to that question. So what do you think? So they said you want to create a new 600 gig volume by using team provisioning. The new volume must use parity layout. What is the minimum number of 256 gig disks required for the storage pool?
I think it's 3.
I think it's 4.
The B answer.
Yep. Okay. Nice one. So what about you, Yuda and
C.
sorry, Amin and Enrique?
I think it's C.
C.
4.
Enrique, sorry, Amin says 4. Krishna says
Because
3. Yeah. So what's your reason, Amin?
because if, like you mentioned earlier on, that and it gives you one third basically. So if we add up 256
Mm-hmm.
3 times, it kind of gives you something, but then the redundant bit goes out, which is another
Yeah.
256, so it will come down to 500, need 600.
Yeah.
So in order to achieve that, I think we need 4 times 256,
Yeah. And what's your
and that
reason?
will give us.
Yeah. Carry on. Sorry.
Mhm.
Sorry for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if times 256,
Mm-hmm.
I think we are able to achieve that 600 gig.
Mm. So what about you, Krishna? What's the reason for your answer?
Well, I say 3 because, like you say, you need a minimum of 1 disk for do parity in an array. So, uh, I say 3 because the question say think provision. So think
Mm.
provision, you can create the disk, and he will grow when you put that on this. So
Good,
you can,
good one, good
uh,
one. Because
you
that's exactly my own thought also. Because my thought
you
also was, I think it's 3 because
Mm.
of the time that they use tin provision.
Mhm.
Assuming they says not tin provision, then it has to be 4 because 256 plus 256 is not up to 600. So if you had another 256, you have to take away the
Mhm.
storage space of 1. So that leaves you with just 500 and something. But
Right,
now,
right.
so that
Two
will now
for
make it 4.
Krishna.
Yeah,
Well done. Well done. So it's the wording
it's the
thing
wording exactly. So because they
improvement.
said you need to create a new 600 gig volume by using team provisioning. So if you're using team provisioning, you don't need to have all the full disk space, yes,
Mhm.
but you have to have 3 disks to have parity.
So thin provisioning is it to do with dynamic disks then?
Exactly, it's dynamic, yeah. So that's team provisioning. So it's the same thing. So that's the
Right,
reason why
right.
I think. Enrique, what do you think? What's your thought about this?
Yeah, I think that we have here such a trick question.
Yeah, it is, yeah, because I think that's like the word there, team provisioning. Because for parity, we know that we need a minimum of 3 disks before we can create a parity. But the thing is, they said they now use 600 gig, but now they said using team provisioning. So which means you don't need to have the full disk space, but you need to have the minimum to create parity. Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Chris,
Yeah.
I just want to add some information. Forget it if I uh, lose some information, but
No.
in RAID 5,
Yeah.
no matter how hard disk you put together,
Hmm.
you always just lose one of them.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Just to clarify, I don't know if you have mentioned this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. You're right. You're absolutely right. So no matter what so if we have 7 disks, we only lose the space of 1 disk.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. We only use the space of 1 disk. So yeah, you're
Yeah,
absolutely correct, Enrique.
it's
Okay.
something
So yeah.
to this is synology chat earlier on we were talking about.
Yeah.
So that Synology Bay, that enclosure,
Yeah.
it also gives you the RAID technology there as well. So you can create RAID 5,
Yeah.
that one as well.
Yeah.
So I did a test I inserted 4 hard drives in there and then created RAID 5 on it.
Yep.
One by one.
Yep.
See how it works.
Yep.
And it was able to cope. As long as you put the hard drives back in sequence, you are okay. You will hold the, all your files and folders, everything in place. Get out of sync, like if you put the wrong out, then you kind of lose everything, and it
Man,
gives you
the guys that I tell
an
you,
error.
the guys
itself.
the guys that deal with like data storage, like because it's a very sensitive issue. It's an issue of you don't want to lose data. That's the key point of the whole data storage. You don't want to lose data, so you're always trying to. I was saying to myself, I was like, where I'll be starting. The new role that I'll be starting, because I'll also be in charge of like the storage and things like that. And that's the very first time that I'll be in charge of storage. That it's not as if we have a special storage administrator. I'm just thinking to myself, I'll use RAID 10 for everything. I don't want to lose any data. I don't care whether you have to spend more money. Everything is RAID 10. So so just because RAID 10 will give you RAID 0, which is striping, and RAID 1. So which means you can theoretically, you can lose all the disk in one block. You can lose, if you have 3 disks in one block or 4 disks in one block, you can lose all those 4 disks and you'll still be okay. So far you don't lose this from the other block. So yeah, I'm like, I don't want to risk anything. Yeah. Recently, where I work in Oxford in UK, one of my senior colleagues that I really respected a lot got a warning for that because some data got lost. We got a warning for that, and warning is not a good thing. Okay, let's go to the next one. Next question, number 52. So it says your network contains an Active Directory. So what we'll do is we'll try to mix this together. So we're doing install and configure server. So very soon we'll move over to Hyper-V, then we'll move back again. It says your network contains an Active Directory domain named contoso.com. You have a DHCP server named server1 that runs Windows Server 2008. You install Windows Server 2012 out2 on a server named server2. You install the DHCP server role on server 2. You need to migrate the DHCP services from server 1 to server 2. The solution must meet the following requirements. Ensure that existing leases are migrated. Prevent lease conflict. Actually, let's leave this one because this is what we'll be discussing next week. This is DHCP. It's not necessarily migration. It is particularly DHCP. So it's the one we're discussing next week. So let's go to the next question. So which is 43. Yeah, because I just did a search for migration in the question bank, and that was what came up. So that's actually DHCP. Question 43. Your network contains an Active Directory domain named contoso.com. The domain contains a server named server1. Server1 runs Windows Server 2012 out2. You need to create a 3 TB virtual hard disk on server1. Which tool should you use? So you want to create a 3 TB virtual hard disk on a server 2012 machine. Which tool should you use? Any thoughts?
Absolutely no idea.
I don't know. Too. You need to create a 3 TB virtual hard disk.
Virtual hard drive.
Yeah, bro. It doesn't mean it doesn't say you have a Hyper-V role or something.
No.
And there's no command, Hyper-V command there. So I don't know how to create that.
Oh, virtual. Okay, what they mean by okay, yeah. So that's a good one. Thanks for raising that one. So if I go to this one now, so let's log into this because this is the concept. We didn't have time to discuss it when we talked when we were discussing about local storage. But there's a new feature, sort of like a new feature that they call storage spaces or
storage space.
Yeah, storage. So they call them storage spaces. So the way storage spaces works is you have your disk, and then you have your pool, your storage pool, which is like your disks, and then you create volumes out of them. So you have your normal disk, you create storage pool out of them, and then you create volume
Hmm.
out of them. So disks to pool to volume. So here's the thing is that okay, let's see the question again. It says you need to create a 3 terabyte virtual hard disk on server 1. So which tool should you use? Yeah, okay. So they said you have new storage pool, right?
Yeah.
So instantly we know that it can't be this. And the reason why it can't be this is if we look on the storage pool here, there's no option to create a virtual hard disk. So storage pool is basically, if I go, let me go to my settings. Let's just add some sample storage so we can play with this. So if I go to my,
I use that service for bringing iSCSI on Windows, but I don't remember that
ah, let's
because
add,
you
yeah,
because you can create a storage pool
yeah.
with these servers,
Hmm.
and you can bring uh, iSCSI volume.
I'm not sure which one you're referring to. Um, yeah, okay, yeah. Let's see this one. If I go next, next, next. Yeah, so let's add three disks so we can play with it. So this is basically another way to manage storage. It's not as if it's like a much special way, but it's just another way to manage storage in Server 2012. So you go next, next. Let's just add simple hard disk to this one. So now we have three hard disks. Um, let's see. Yeah, here we go. Don't you like VMware? VMware is so awesome, right? You can
Yeah,
yeah, you can alter the hard drive and all that stuff.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
you know you can't do that in Hyper-V. You can't. You can't do that in Hyper-V. You can't do hard like that like we just did. So now we've altered well you can auto expand but not add drive or add memory like that. The only way to auto memory in Hyper-V is to use dynamic memory. You can't use static memory. So okay, back to this one. So now we have three disks, right?
Yeah.
So we can go bring online, bring online, bring online. So we have three disks here. So now we can go initialize them. So again, just remember the steps that we are going through because they may ask you, because we may see a question about that very soon. So you bring it online first, you initialize them next.
Yeah, and then you can use.
Yeah.
But they don't need necessarily be a GPG partition, okay?
That's a yeah, because the main difference between what's the main difference between GPT and MBR?
Mm, basically, the the size they can manage.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they don't have to be that. But if you want to go, I think MBR goes to a maximum of 2 terabytes, is it? Is it 2 terabytes?
Yeah,
Um, I think if I remember properly, MBR max size. Yeah, so they go to a maximum of 2 terabytes. So you can't go anything more than 2 terabytes with MBR. So if you want to use anything more than 2 terabytes, you have to use GPT.
okay.
Mm, So, okay, because I was thinking this one, let me go, okay, so maybe volumes first. Okay, new volume. Next. So we can create new volume from the disks that we have. Assign drive letter to it. So something similar to the same way we create. But the thing is, I think the reason why I can't use storage pool, because I was talking to use storage pool. I think the reason why I can't use storage pool is we have to install a row to be able to use that. But the point is, from this one, we know that this is not the answer because they want us to create a 3 terabyte virtual hard disk, right?
Yes.
So there's no place to create virtual hard disk using storage pool.
Okay.
So you can create volumes from storage pools, but not virtual hard disk.
Okay.
So it's not this one.
Oh, it's not this one.
Yeah. So if we go
Okay.
back, if I go back to this one, so let's go on the disk management. Yeah. Computer management would be good. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we have our disk management. So look at this. Yeah, it's loading. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, can you see?
Yeah.
Create PHD.
Oh, okay.
So that's what they're talking about. So you can create a virtual hard drive from here. It will just basically ask us the location that you want to create the virtual hard drive. If you want to use anything more than 2 terabytes, you have to make it a VHDX. Same one. So make it a VHDX. You can choose fixed size or dynamically expanding size. But the point is, where do we create it? We know that it's not storage pool. I'll doubt this one, new storage subsystem virtual disk. File server resource manager. That's the one that I think we should try. File server resource manager. Because file server resource manager, I think we need to install a role to be able to use. Yeah, so we need to install a role first. Add roles and features.
Maybe.
Yeah.
In what scenario you need to use virtual hard disks?
Virtual hard disk, as in what? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay, I see what you mean. In what scenario, right?
you will lose that. Because if you need on a server, you use exclusive target or share folder for something. I don't got it.
Yeah, it's more like for flexibility. I'll give you a scenario. Let me go from this machine. You can still see my machine, right? Let me how DP to another one of my machines. So if I go connect, you can still see the machine, right? You can still see the screen, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So if you look at this scenario, so I have these virtual machines. Now I'm like, oh, I want to install Wireshark inside this virtual machine. So I have two options. I can either create a virtual switch or change the adapter to bridge to connect it to the internet, right? And download Wireshark. Or I can come to disk management or computer management or disk management here, create a virtual hard drive and just attach it as an extra hard drive inside that one. You get the point? So I want to download and install Wireshark on this one. But this is like my lab environment is not connected to the internet. So I can either go to the effort of trying to connect it to the internet, or what I can do is come here, go right click here, go eventually to come up. Yeah, still, yeah. Go create virtual hard drive, call it something like test 15. Yeah, dynamically expanding. Let's give it a space of 30, 40 meg anything. Just something to play with. Yeah. Initialize it. Yeah. Create a new volume on it. Then download my Wireshark, yeah, and copy it here. So download, so this is the drive, right? This is the virtual hard drive. So download my
Yeah.
Wireshark from this one, copy it in here, go back to this one, make it offline, detach it, yeah,
It's
then
too
go
much work, bro.
then go to my hard drive. No, but the thing is that maybe some scenarios like when you're like, oh, I don't want to connect this machine to the internet at all.
Okay,
So
okay.
you can just go, so I can go under settings and just attach hard drive and just attach the virtual hard drive.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah. So it's just a simple way of creating virtual hard drives that you don't have to do it from within Hyper-V or something. You can just create a virtual hard drive on a machine that you want, transfer any files that you want to transfer, copy that virtual hard drive and go attach it to the virtual machine that you want.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the same way
I got it, bro.
you can detach copy a virtual hard drive from a virtual machine, take it to another
And
machine, attach it, copy files into it, then go back and reconnect it to the virtual machine. So
okay.
it's just something, for flexibility. So let me close this one. Um, so that's like the point. That's like one scenario that you want to use that. So where do we create it? So we're installing a role, right? File services.
Another scenario to use VAG,
Yeah.
it can be not the best way, but if you want to change the virtual machine to another hardware, I mean a more powerful server,
Mhm.
you can just detach and copy and paste the virtual hard drive and provisioning another new virtual machine and attach this VAG to the new virtual machine on a new and more powerful hardware. But I know that System Center does it in a better way.
Mhm. I'm even thinking that with that you can actually just, you know, copy the virtual hard drive or export it
Mhm.
and just go import it there directly.
Yeah.
Mhm. So let's see. Well, I think we just installed the file and services flow, I think. I hope. Is there file and services somewhere there? But let's go back here. File and storage services. So which option is that? File server resource manager. So is the file server resource manager here? Has anyone seen file server resource manager? Or is Microsoft lying to us? Ah, here we go.
Oh yeah.
File server resource manager. No. Let's quickly add that. So what we want to do is basically see, can we create virtual hard drive? We know we can create it from storage pool. Um, I doubt we can create it from the subsystem PowerShell commandlet. So this one, disk path. Let's see. Let's see. Into that option, create volume partition of virtual disk. So let's go
Okay.
this part. So let's go create vdisk. So let's go create vdisk. Okay, let's go create vdisk. Let's try C test20.vht. Maybe not. .vht. No. Okay. So if we go manage.
But I think that fdisk is the right way.
Which one?
This
Which
part.
this part?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see.
We have a special command line to do it.
Ah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this part looks like the. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Create virtual hard disk using disk part. Okay. Create vdisk. Okay. There we go.
You can set up the type if
Yeah.
it is expandable or fixed. Great.
So let's go back to there. So create vdisk. Let's just create a file. Let me see if we just use the default. Type equals expandable. Doesn't like something.
Come back to the and
Oh,
we
okay.
have a
File.
equal
Yeah.
sign.
Equal sign. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go file equals.
That's fine. Oh.
Maybe size, right? Maximum equals 2000. Okay. So let's call maximum equals 2000. Hey, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see if we have a VHT now. Yeah, here we go. We have a VHT. Team provision. What of file and resource manager? Absolutely not. Because this year, I remember file and resource manager is for managing quotas. If you want to manage quotas, you want to create quota templates to say you can't go beyond this quota. If you go beyond this quota, send an email to an administrator. Just for managing storage, not for creating virtual drive. So I'll go with Dixpat. What do you think?
Yeah, it's okay, bro. Don't worry. Everyone here do that.
Yeah, I'll go with I'll go with
It's okay because I don't use this part for about 2 years.
Wow. Yeah. I actually like them because actually they are not bad. To me, I think like Dixpat, like I like the way they implement the command line, like NetSH and all that. Because what they've done is they can help you. Same thing if I go exit from Dixpat. Let's say I use all these old command line tools. I like the fact that you can just go slash question mark and it will just show you like all these ones and all that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't use this part. I don't know. I don't remember. The last time I used it was for create a boot USB drive.
Yeah.
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 That's the
Maybe the last
time.
maybe the last time you used this part, VAD is not available.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. So okay, yeah, that's question 43. So let's move to the next one, which is question 50. So after this one, let's move to some Hyper-V. Let's do some Hyper-V too. So we'll do a mixture of them. Just to practice, it's good to practice our skills this way. See, because here's the thing that, some people, when they practice exam question, they practice them to cram them, right? It's good to practice them in a lab. I like practicing them in a lab because You get to test things out. For example, things that you probably have no idea about, like the disk part one now. I've learned something today. When you get to practice, so you go one by one and you practice everything out in a lab. You learn a lot that way. And I tell you, that will be difficult to forget. You know, It'll be difficult for me to forget the disk parts thing now. Okay.
Yeah.
It says you have a
Agree.
server named Server 1 that runs Windows Server 2012 R2. On Server 1, you open computer management as shown in this exhibit below. So we open computer management is exhibit below. I think this one, you need to ensure that you can create a 3 terabyte volume on disk 1. So we have disk 1, they want a 3 terabyte volume on disk 1. What should you do first? Create
It's easy.
computer.
It's easy that because you already say that.
So what do you think the answer to this one is?
You need to convert this to the
GPT.
GPT disk.
But how do you know that it's not already a GPT disk?
Oh, I don't know
I
because
Sorry,
mean,
it's
can you repeat it
partition
again?
it's two partition and the first one is 2 terabyte. That's the limit of
good one,
MBR.
very good one, very very good one. Well, that's one
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
But can a disk
Hmm?
be a GPT and basic?
Ah,
Or to be a GPT, it may be I don't know.
yeah. I know the question you're referring to. It's a really good question. So let's go with that. So let's go. Actually, we added some of this hard drive. So actually, let's delete some of them. Let's re-add them so that we can play with them again. Because when we're talking about, because that part is a bit confusing to many people when you're talking about basic or dynamic disk, or you're talking about
Yeah,
GPT or MP or MPR. So GPT or MPR, they are different from when they're talking about basic or dynamic. Because what basic or dynamic is basically saying is, think of it like the kind of features that you can use. So you create a basic disk. You can't use a feature like RAID. For example, now like let's say this one. This one is a basic disk. Yeah. Let's convert it to a dynamic disk. So let's convert disk 1, disk 2, disk 3 to dynamic disk. Yeah, okay. So what that does is if I come here, I can go new simple volume, span volume, stripe volume, mirrored volume. Basic disk. So let me go this one. Let me change it back to basic disk just so that we see. So if I right click on it and go new simple volume, new stripe volume, new mirrored volume. Let's go. Except it's different in 2012. Yeah, okay. I was a bit concerned that um that was gonna work because it wasn't supposed to work. Because basically you can't use, so if you're using a basic disk, you can only use a simple volume. But if you want spanned, striped, mirrored, you have to use a dynamic disk. So you can't use basic disk. So even if I go this one and I go convert this one back to basic disk. So this one and this two are now basic disk, right? And I go new mirrored volume, which is basically RAID 1, right? And I go add. It should not work because it should tell me I want you to convert this. Yeah, you see. The operation you selected will convert the selected basic disk to dynamic disk. If you convert this to dynamic, you will not be able to start installed operating system from any volume on the disk, except the current boot volume. Are you sure you want to continue? So you can't use all these features like spanning, striping, mirroring on basic disks. So you can only have simple volumes like this. But dynamic disk, you can have two disks on it and then make these two disks operate like RAID, you know? So you can go dynamic disk, disk one, disk two. Let's convert both of them to dynamic disk. And then we can create a mirrored volume, which is basically RAID 1. And go next and then go finish. And then it's gonna create a mirrored volume for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we can create a striped volume, or we can create a span volume. A striped volume is a volume that we basically take disk 1 and disk 2 and we make them into a single volume, you know? So
Yeah.
basically, let's say disk 1 and disk 2. So that means you have bigger capacity. So this one is like 60 gig, this one is 60 gig. You make both of them into a striped volume. Now you have a volume that is 120 gig. But your machine does not know. Basically, you go inside your my computer, you just see 120 gig drive. You want to know that the 120 gig is made up of 2 or 3 disks. But you can't,
All right.
yeah, you can't use that with basic. You can only use that with dynamic. Let this one finish. Oh, let's see. I think we have another one down there. Let's delete volume. Yeah. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. Okay. So in terms of like when it comes to like MBR or GPT, it's more like a partitioning style. So MBR is saying like what we said, like you can't use beyond the maximum of 2 terabytes. Dynamic will allow you to use up to something exabyte or something like that. Sorry, GPT, sorry. GPT disk maximum. It has like a really crazy maximum size, like something exabyte or something like that. Yeah, 16 exabytes. So
Yeah.
yeah, so so you can basically have basic, which will allow you to only have a simple volume. You can't use all the features like spanning, striping, or mirroring. But dynamic will allow you to use spanning, striping, or mirroring. Or you can have MPR or GPT, yeah, either on dynamic or basic, it doesn't matter. MPR means you can only use maximum of 2 terabytes. That's the maximum that you can address.
Mm-hmm.
GPT means you can expand beyond 2 terabytes.
Okay, so coming back with the question,
Yeah.
how can we discover if a disk is formatted with GPT or MBR? Just looking, there is no way. Just looking to the screen.
Like this one, the thing that I've noticed is this one. If you look at this one now,
It's
let's
basic
go,
and dynamic, isn't it?
yeah. So if I go, okay.
Oh yeah, I think that
You want to say something?
visually saying we don't have any difference.
Put the computer manager again.
This one.
Well, I also see a difference right now. When you
From
compare to MBR, you see the gray out, the gray out the disk,
Which gray out?
the the background in the disk change.
So if I go GPT, so I'll convert it to GPT now.
Oh no 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 no.
So now
No,
it's
it's just because it doesn't
Oh,
select it.
yeah. It's
yeah.
correct. It's correct.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
because you selected.
Selected, yeah. So that's
Yeah,
selecting. So yeah, so that's a good question. So the question is, how do we know that this disk is not
I
not
think that
ready?
just looking for the properties of the disk.
Let's read the question again.
Is it maybe I'm wrong, but is it not on the left hand side where it says basic?
Basic. So basic simply means the features that you can use. So basic can be GPT. So for example, if I go back here, so here we have a basic disk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is GPT because this I can convert it to MPR, but this is currently GPT. So it's basic. So basic simply means the features that you can use. You can either use, so basic simply means you can only set it up as a simple volume. White dynamic means you can set it up as a spanned volume, as a striped volume, or as a mirrored volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GPT and MPR is talking about the terms of the size that you can expand them to. So how do we know? How do we know from this one that from this question? Because that is the key to for us to, I think, to be able to answer this question, is that because definitely this one will make sense. Option B will make sense, but we first have to confirm, how do we find out that this is really, really, really not already GPT? How do we find out? Is there a particular way for us to find out that this is not already?
Convert the disk channel.
The only thing that I can think of is what Krishna said, because if you look at this one, this is less than 2 terabytes, right? Or this is just 2 terabytes. And at the same time, this one is 2 terabytes. So nothing on this disk goes beyond 2 terabytes. So I think that may be a key to something, because you can see that now it's broken this down to 2 volumes unallocated, but this didn't go beyond 2 terabytes. So the disk is 4 terabytes, but it's broken it down to basically 2.
Yeah,
So
I
that may
agree.
be a pointer of something there. So the thing that I think would be good for us to practice would be, can we get the storage? Is there a way? Will it allow us to do? Okay, I think it will allow us to do team provisioning of 2 terabytes because I don't have 2 terabytes on this disk. But let's see if it will allow us to do team provisioning. So let me add one more disk and make it 2 terabytes team provisioning. So hopefully the machine doesn't crash out. Copy creating a virtual drive. Let's call this. Let's call it 4,000 actually. Let's make it 4 terabytes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so 4 terabytes. So let's see what happens when we initialize it. Online.
Go initialize. You
Yeah,
get online.
initialize, yeah. So let's make it MBR. Yeah, there we go. That's our answer.
Yeah.
That's our answer.
See,
Oh,
they divide the volume.
Yeah. Now you see, do you see the benefit of practicing these things out in the lab? Because we can learn that way. Like this one also, I've learned something now. So now you can see from just looking at it, so someone who just goes ahead and just tries to cram something, wouldn't really use the question as a tool of practicing, won't recognize all these things. But now we know, okay, so that's how we know that this is, because now the moment we converted a 4 terabyte hard drive and we say your MBR, it basically splits it into 2. So you can't go beyond 2 terabytes.
Yeah,
So that's how we know. So in that
great.
case, my answer will be this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, because dynamic disk will be talking about features. So we're not talking
Yeah,
about spanning volume or mirrored volume here.
yeah.
We're talking about 3 terabytes. It's not storage pool. And we're not talking about VHT. We're talking about a volume. So I'll go for this one. Yeah, okay, nice one. So let's move over to, yeah, carry on, Enrique.
By the way, when we are talking about basic and dynamic disks,
Yeah.
we have such a different way to manage these two kind of disks when you think in changing these disks to another server. Because if you have a dynamic disk, you can't move the just one disk to another server if it is a part of a bunch of disks.
Yeah, that is a good one, especially if they are older operating system.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially, so that is absolutely
Yeah,
correct.
because other systems are maybe sharing or using.
Yeah, so maybe the disk that you're moving is a member of a striped volume or is a member of a spanned volume, So you move that disk and you take it to another operating system. So to use just a disk, but the operating system is like, no, you belong to a particular volume, but I can't see the remaining members of the volume here. Or you take it to a backward operating system, like some of the older operating systems, like what they said, if you want to boot from a drive, I'm not sure if you can do that, if you can boot from GPT now in Server 2012. But I know it used to be that you can only boot from MBR. Let's see. Let's see. Let's do it quick. So boot
I'm gonna post a question meanwhile.
from GPT. Yeah, sure. Oh, okay, yeah. It says till now, Windows 7 or Windows 8 could boot from GPT disk only on a UEFI system. So, yeah. Okay, here's a good answer from Wikipedia. So, except your system supports UEFI, you won't be able to. Windows 7 and earlier do not support UEFI on 32-bit system and therefore do not allow booting from GPT. So basically, on Windows 7, 32-bit version, you can't boot from GPT partition because they don't support UEFI. So you can only boot from MBR. So if you have your Windows operating system on a GPT partition and then you go try to boot it, or yeah, let's see, no, that's not accurate. Yeah, because now when you're going to boot it, you're basically taking the hard drive itself. But then if you're going to be booting Windows 7 32-bit, you have to ensure that the volume is a MBR partition, not a GPT partition. But now it doesn't apply to Windows 8 anymore because of Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, UEFI, which is BIOS replacement basically. Okay, good one, man. Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move to some Hyper-V questions. Let's go to question 39. Question 39. Let's see. It's this one. It says your network contains a server named Server 1 that runs Windows Server 2012 R2. Server 1 has the Hyper-V server role installed. Server 1 hosts 4 virtual machines named VM1, VM2, VM3, VM4. Server 1 is configured as shown in this table. You install a network monitoring application on VM2. You need to ensure that all of the traffic sent to VM3 can be captured on VM2. What should you configure? So in other words, you want to capture traffic that is sent to VM3. You want to capture it on VM2. So what should you configure? Normal topology, resource control, resource metering, virtual machine chimney, VLAN ID, processor compatibility, startup order, automatic start action, integration services, port mirroring, single root IO virtualization. What do you think?
You need a CCNA for that to answer this question.
And actually, like, again, I think this one is even much more straightforward than the rest. Because this one, even from looking at it, even if I don't really understand the meaning, my mind will instantly go to port mirroring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
I was thinking that.
Because as you need to ensure that all the traffic sent to VM3 can be captured on VM2. So, Krishna, what do you think?
I really don't know, right?
I know port mirroring because we were discussing this one last week. Because port mirroring is basically, um, okay, I need to install the Hyper-V role first. Okay, while we're installing the Hyper-V role, um, Hyper-V, yeah. Okay, while we're installing the Hyper-V role, let's look for the other question. We'll come back to that so that we can test it out also. Install. Yeah, but my mind will go to port mirroring, but we'll come back to, let me mark that question. Question 39. Let me put a star next to it. Question 76 is the next one. Question 76. There we go. Similar one. So it says your network contains a server named server 1 that is running server 2012 R2. Server 1 has the Hyper-V server role installed. Server 1 hosts 4 virtual machines named VM1, VM2, VM3, and VM4. Server 1 is configured as shown in the following table. VM3 is used to test applications. So this is server 1. So server 1 contains a virtual machine called VM3 that is used to test application. You need to prevent VM3 from synchronizing its clock to server 1. What should you configure? So you want to prevent VM3, which is a virtual machine inside server 1. You want to prevent it from synchronizing its clock to server 1. What should you configure? Krishna, you should remember this because we did this last week.
Uh, I, I think it's integration service.
Good one. I think integration services. Does anyone agree? Or what do you think, Enrique and Henry?
Yeah, I agree with Krishna. It is integration service. There is a option to synchronize or don't synchronize the clock.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Amin? What do you think?
I had no idea. I just guessed VLAN, so I thought I'd put it on a different VLAN.
Yeah, okay. Actually, when the machine comes back on, we'll see all this together. So we'll see all this together. So yeah, I think it's integration services because integration services, it's like, remember that when you install Hyper-V, you can install sort of like some tools or some drivers on the guest operating system. So those drivers or tools that you install will give you more features. So one of the features that it will give you is the option to synchronize the time between the
Yeah,
guest and the host. Yeah,
yeah.
but we'll get to that. Okay, so that's question 76, 39, 76. Next question, question 106. I think just a few more questions and we're finished for today.
Um, Chris,
Yeah,
I think that just to clarify, we
yeah,
can show this on some virtual machine on Hyper-V.
yeah, yeah. So I was installing the Hyper-V role. So once this one restarts, yeah,
Okay.
because I didn't have the Hyper-V role installed. Because what I do with my labs is that the moment I create them as vanilla, I just take a snapshot. So at
Okay.
the
I'm sharing.
Okay, yeah, nice one, man. Let's see Krishna's machine. So Krishna is sharing his screen with us.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason why I do that is so that I can just play with it, break anything I want to break, and just revert the snapshot back. So yeah. So we'll see Krishna. Amin said, is it possible to keep Hangout over the weekend? Did you see? So, see me and Enrique, I know you, I know you're a married man also, because it's the weekend that I have for my wife. If I take the weekend away from her, she'll probably kill me. So weekend is the time that I've promised that, okay, I promise
And
you.
you see, and you see my desktop?
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see now. Yeah. So, okay, so you want to show us where we're going to configure that regarding the integration services? Yeah, that one. Yeah. So can you see the screen, Hamin? You can see the screen, right?
It's very
Yeah,
blurry.
yeah, it's very small. It's very tiny.
Mm-hmm.
It's tiny. I don't know how to.
No, I know the reason why, because you have a bigger screen, I guess. Your screen is really big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the reason. But if you can squint a little bit, I mean, you notice that one of the options there is time synchronization.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So that's the one so that's under integration services, time synchronization. That will synchronize the time between the guest operating system and the host
Mm.
operating system. So that's the option. So that's for that one. The other one that we're talking about, port mirroring, if you go under network adapter, if you expand network adapter,
Okay. Yes.
yeah, under
Mm-hmm.
advanced features, I think, advanced features, and if you scroll all the way down, you see port mirroring there. So port mirroring is really simple. I mean, it's really, really simple. All you need to do is select the source. So if you click the drop down button, mirroring mode, yeah. So you
Yeah.
select the source and the destination. So you say, this virtual machine, I want to capture traffic from you. So you select that as the
Oh, okay,
source.
okay, okay, okay.
And
For
then
mirroring.
you go to the one that you want to capture the traffic to, and then you select that as the destination. So that's the way it works. There are other few things that you have to do also, but that's for like we'll
Yeah.
do that in like future courses, I think. I think that's in 7412, I think. Yeah, okay, nice one. Thanks very much for that, Krishna. So
Thank you, Krishna.
let's do three more questions and then let's finish for today. 106. Let's do question one. Let's just do random questions. Question 106. Okay, yeah, here we are. It says you have a Hyper-V host named. By the way I got these questions is these questions are in our drive. So if you go to the community page, you'll see we have a Google Drive. So under folder
Maybe.
7410. Hello? Yeah.
I check it now the port mirroring config,
Yeah.
and I just see destination and source, but you can specify what virtual machine will be the source of the or destination, because it's I have three virtual machine. I configure them like two source and one destination.
Yeah, you can do
You know
that also.
what you know what I get?
What do you get?
So I will I will monitor I will monitoring the traffic of those two machines.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You can monitor, you can have multiple sources and multiple destinations. So think about it. You maybe yeah, cause I currently work in networking. Like it's the same. So what Microsoft has basically done is they've taken the popular so it's a popular networking technology that exists. So in a networking technology, you have um uh let's just bring up WordPad. Maybe WordPad would be much better. Or Paint, sorry, Paint. Yeah. So in that time we'll have a switch, like in the current environment where we work, or where I work, we have a switch, and then you have your switch ports. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry that is a bit rough.
That's great. That's sweet.
That's great skill.
Yeah.
So we have a switch. So let's say this is the one that connect, like the way we have it in our environment at the moment is we have this one that connects to our first internet source, and this one that connects to maybe a backup internet source or to a backup ISP. So so that we can capture in case something big was going wrong, so that we'll at least have the last 15 minutes capture of what is going on. So basically go on this spot and type in a command that says you are a source. We'll type it in on this spot. We'll type it in on this port and say you are a source. Then we'll go to this port right here and say to this port, you are the destination. So everything that is a source on this one will be listening to them. So
yeah, but
yeah.
Yeah, I got that. But if you have two virtual machines with the destination spot, what happened there?
So basically they will be listening. So you've basically made them destination doesn't really mean that much until you actually go inside so you basically take another machine, you connect a machine here, and then you plug in your machine that has Wireshark or anything you want to use for capture. So anything that is destination will listen to the source.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Got
it's
it.
not as if you're specifying that, oh, this source, you're listening to this source. So the way it works in standard networking is you just configure the port as a source, yeah, and any port that is a destination will listen to all the ports. So if you have all these ports as sources, this one will basically listen to everything that is going on here. So
Okay.
any traffic that is going on here will also be passed to this guy. Any traffic going on here will be passed to this guy. Any traffic going on here will be passed to this guy. So you can configure many sources, many destinations. As
I
long
got
as
it.
they are on the same subnet and they are on the same network, you'll be good. So that's
Excellent.
so Microsoft just took that same technology and just applied it to Hyper-V. So that's all that they've done. So yeah, 3 more questions, guys. 3 more, and then we'll be done for today. Um,
Okay, let's go.
yeah. Okay. Next one is this one. Okay. It says you have a Hyper-V host named Server 1. Is it 106 or 107? 106, sorry. It says you have a new server named Server 1 that runs Server 2012 R2. Server 1 has 2 dual-core processors and 32 gig of RAM. You install the Hyper-V server role on Server 1. So you have Server 1, Server 2008 R2. It has 2 dual-core processors, 32 gig of RAM. You install the Hyper-V role on it. You create 2 virtual machines on Server 1 that each have 8 gig of RAM. You need to minimize the amount of time it takes for both virtual machines to access memory. What should you configure on each virtual machine?
You need to do config NUMA topology.
You were in the lecture last week. Sorry, you were in the hangout last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. My bad.
Because we discussed this last week. So we really discussed NUMA topology last week. Yeah.
But not just last week. You did it before.
Yeah, I remember. But last week we even went into much more details because we explained it much more clearly last week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because last week
Yeah.
we
Great.
basically, we spent almost about 20 minutes on just NUMA topology, just discussing it, explaining it, and all that. Yeah.
Welcome.
I mean, do you understand like more
Yeah.
about NUMA topology? We
Oh,
have
sorry. No.
no, we have a recording of the hangout from
Mm.
last week, so it's already up on the
Yeah.
community page. So if you look at that, we discussed NUMA topology a lot in that. So basically, what
Right.
they're saying, so the key to this one for me, the key is this, because many people would think, is it not it's not resource control, number one.
Mm.
Because the reason why it's not resource control is because resource control has to do with processor, not memory. So here's the key point is that I will recommend, all these ones, all the one that we looked at where they had like about 8 options. Just take all those options one by one and just make sure you understand what they mean. Every one of them one by one. So resource control, if you go here and go under your Hyper-V server, so let's go Hyper-V manager, and you will see resource control has absolutely nothing. Let's just quickly create a virtual machine. Next, 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 and finish. Yep, there we go. So we have a virtual machine here. So if I go under the settings of this virtual machine, under processor is where you find, because what we did last week, we went from beginning and we're going all the way. We didn't get to the end, but we went all the way, I think, to maybe this place or something. So under processor, you see resource control. So resource control is a processor setting. So instantly, once you're familiar with what every single one of those terms mean, you know this cannot be resource control because resource control is processor. Memory weight is something different because memory weight, it says it could be memory weight if you're talking about they are fighting for memory. Yeah. So maybe when two machines are fighting for memory, and then you're like, oh, you have more weight than the other machine. So basically, under memory, you can go memory weight. It says specify how to prioritize the availability of memory for this virtual machine compared to other virtual machines. So this is talking about when two virtual machines are fighting over memory, one has to have priority over the other. So this is how you prioritize them. You can give one a high priority, you can give the other one a low priority, you can give one a medium priority, and based on the weight that you select, it will give them priority when they are fighting for memory. But in this case, you look at it, they are not fighting for memory because you have 32 gig of RAM, you have the Hyper-V role installed, you only have two virtual machines, and they have 8 gig each. So they are not fighting for RAM. So instantly, you know it's not memory weight. Dynamic memory, instantly you know it's not dynamic memory because they are not fighting for memory. It's not as if they are like struggling for memory. I mean, they both have 16 gig, you still have 16 gig more. But NUMA topology, which basically means you have a block of processors and you have a block of memory. So any the memory and the processor that are in the same block, their access is faster. So if a processor wants to access memory in its block, it will access it faster. But if it tries to go to another block, it will become slower. So that is where NUMA topology comes in, because yes, you want to minimize the amount of time it takes for them to access memory. So just make sure you just use the hardware NUMA topology.
Right.
That's what this one. I mean, if you watch the later part towards the end of last week hangout, just towards the end, you see the discussion there. So yeah, we're correct in that. So good one. So
where can I get that? Where can I download or get a copy of these questions?
No, it's on the drive. So if you go on the community page, so we have a Google Drive. So there's a guy called Zohas. So he helped us to set it up. So just send him an email with your email address, or drop him a message with your email address. He'll give you access to it, and then you can go inside the folder, and all these questions are there. So just take them, just make sure you understand what the question that we went through before, question 39. Question 39. Make sure you understand what every single one of this what they mean, what they do. Make sure you know what NUMA topology does. Resource control, you know its processor. Resource metering, you know that's the way we collect statistics about memory usage, CPU usage, and disk usage for a virtual machine. Virtual machine chimney. It sounds complex. Does anyone know what virtual machine chimney means? All virtual machine chimney means is TCP offload. So what TCP offload? Because we said IT people we throw away a lot of times. What TCP offload? Because you say virtual machine means TCP offload. I'm like, what in the world is TCP offload? What TCP offload means is that because network cards are different from one another. Network cards are different from one another. You have a network card that you can buy for £20. You have another one that if you want to buy, they will sell it to you for £800. Now, something should tell you that there's a difference between the £800 one and the £20 network card. Because the £800 one has a processor on itself, has a RAM on itself. So what can happen is that the machine can offload processing to the network card. So instead of the machine looking at packet and trying to calculate this packet is going here, the network card will deal with that. So that's what TCP chimney stands for. It simply stands for you are offloading task away from the computer processor, and you are offloading it to the network card. And not all network cards support it. You can only use this feature if your hardware card supports it. So you must have one of those expensive hardware cards that have its own processor and have its own memory that can take away the tasks from the CPU. For example,
Right.
if we go
Like a burden sharing.
exactly. So you go here and just go TCP chimney. Yeah, so you can see TCP chimney offload. So it's basically your uploading task that the memory will be doing normally. You're just offloading it and you're passing it to the network card to deal with it. So Microsoft says TCP chimney offload. Let's see what they say. They say TCP chimney offload is a networking technology that allows the work associated with moving data across the network to be offloaded from the host computer CPU to the network adapter. So that's the whole point. It's just basically offloading thing from the CPU to the network adapter. And let's see. Or let's see, and they call them TOE network card. Let's see. You can just check. Like this, okay, yeah, this one is even there are some that, I mean, this one is £352. That's even cheap. There are some that are like about £1,000. So they are not just normal, the normal cards that we use. They are like really like this one, network adapter card, £868. So we're talking about really expensive ones, but they will take over the work, your CPU will do less work. So this card will basically be dealing with all the processing. So that's what TCP chimney, that's what it stands for. So you basically go through all these things one by one, every single one of them, one by one, and understand what they mean. VLAN ID, of course, you know what VLAN ID means. You're just selecting the ID of the VLAN that the virtual machine will belong to. Processor compatibility, you're saying to the virtual machine, I want you to be able to migrate to another host that is in your processor family, but it's not the same processor. So maybe you have Intel i3 and Intel i5. They are not the same. They have different features, but you want to be able to migrate a virtual machine from Intel i3 to Intel i5. So you can set processor compatibility. But it doesn't mean you can migrate from Intel to AMD. That won't work. But if you're migrating from within the same processor manufacturer and the same processor family, so you can select processor compatibility for them to be able to migrate between one another. Startup order is your boot up order. Basically, if you're the way you're booting up, you're saying, I want you to boot from CD first, network adapter second, hard disk stored, that one. Automatic start action is what do you want it to do when it starts? What do you want the virtual machine to do when it starts? Integration services is the one that we looked at, which gives you like about 6 features. The feature for copying and pasting between the host and the virtual machine, the feature to backup using Microsoft Volume Snapshot, the feature to synchronize the time between the guest and the host. So integration services gives you like all these features, about 6 of them. Port mirroring to capture traffic from one VM to another. Single root IO virtualization. Does anyone know what that means?
Simply, right?
Single root IO virtualization. Anyone knows what that means?
It is when, oh, come on.
Yeah, listening, Enrique.
Um, is the way the virtual machine pass through the the hard disk, so you don't have that medium layer. Uh, you can access the hard disk directly. Am I
Excellent,
right?
excellent, excellent. So, but it's not talking about the hard disk though. It's talking about the network card.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So it's talking about the network card. So you're accessing the network. So single root IO virtualization is talking about you're accessing the network card directly. So if you go under here, on the network card.
What the feature? The same feature concerning hard disk.
Yeah. What's that called? So if I go on the hard drive, hard drive. So the one you're talking about is this one, physical hard disk, where you can go directly to the physical hard disk. So I don't think there's like a special name for it. The one for fiber channel is called fiber channel SAN, virtual fiber channel SAN. But the one for physical hard disk, I don't think they have a name for it. Yeah. But the one for network, that's this one, single IO virtualization. So basically just take all these things one by one and make sure you know exactly what each one of them does. So that if they ask you a question like this in the exam, it's basically a good one for you. If they ask you like about 6 of them,
Yeah.
yeah, basically just enjoy. Yeah. So okay, yeah, actually we have 2 more to do. So question 139, and then last one is question 178. So it says you have a Hyper-V host named Hyper-V1 that runs Windows Server 2008 out to. Actually, let's finish after this one. Let's make this one the last one for today. So because 2 o'clock says you have a Hyper-V host named Hyper-V1 that runs Server 2012 out to. Hyper-V1 hosts a virtual machine named Server 1. Server 1 uses a disk named server1.phds that is stored locally on Hyper-V1. So you stop server 1 and you move server1.vhdx to an iSCSI target that is located on another server. You need to configure server 1 to meet the following requirements. Ensure that server 1 can start by using server1.vhdx. Prevent server1.vhdx from consuming more than 500 IOPS on the iSCSI target. So you have server 2012 out2 machine. That server 2012 out2 machine has a virtual machine named server 1 that has an hard disk named server1.vhdx. So you stop that virtual machine, you move its virtual hard drive to an iSCSI target on another server. So you want to configure that server to meet the following requirements. So basically, you're just moving its virtual hard drive and you're moving it to another machine, to another server, and you want to create a machine and attach it to it. It says, ensure that server 1 can start by using server1.vhdx. Prevent server1.vhdx from consuming more than 500 IOPS on the iSCSI target. Which 2 objects should you configure? Actually, I think this picture already highlighted two things.
Self-explanatory.
So what do you think, guys? So which 2 objects should you configure for that? If I go under this one, like I said, so first of all, you need to select the new location of the iSCSI target here. So you point it, you go browse, you look for the new location, and you select the hard drive from it. So you attach it back to it. And then under advanced features, it's where under the advanced features of any one of these resources, memory, processor, you can configure special features that has to do with resource contention or things like that. So under hard drive advanced features, you can configure and say you can't use below these IOPS on whatever LAN you are on, and you can't use above these IOPS on whatever LAN you are on. But in the real world, do you think you configure this in the real world? Or what reason do you think you configure this in the real world?
Quality of service.
Quality of service for hard drive. Will you ever configure that in the real world? Krishna, Enrique, what do you think? What reason do you think you want to configure this in the real world?
I think that if you are in a big company, you're gonna set up a SAN system to control this.
What do you think? Why would you want to set up a system to control this? Because this can get out of hand really quickly, except you are a computer. Because basically, you have to be like a computer to be calculating how many hours does this one use, and then you go to this other server, how many high hopes do I want to give this one so that it doesn't use above these high hopes. things can get out of hand really, really quickly.
Again, System Center? No.
When I thought about, because I was thinking about this, I was thinking, why will I ever want to use this in an environment that I'm working in? And the only answer I can come up with is maybe for development machines, maybe for test machines. Maybe there's like some developers in your network that they have machines that are not in production, that are not in your live environment, and you're like, this guy that is developing code on this test machine and it's using all our IOPS. So I want to limit his IOPS to maybe 100 IOPS so that it doesn't take all the IOPS. But apart from that reason, I can't think of any reason why I want to come in to say I don't want you to be used a maximum of this one, because it can get out of hand if it's a production environment. What happens if all of a sudden there's lots of demand on it in a production environment?
Okay.
So I can only think of the only reason why I think, for me, I'm not sure. You can probably think about it for yourself that why will I want to use it? But the only reason I thought about this for me is if it's a development machine. Otherwise, I don't see any reason why I want to use it.
Yeah, that's make sense for me because in my work we have a Qualogics and we have two storage group.
Yeah.
One for 7.5 gigs.
Yeah.
And one for 15 K
Thousand.
disks.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't reduce the IOPS on production server.
Yeah. 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 Especially anything that has to do with you're reserving something, it can get out of hand really quickly. Really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
because otherwise you have to really, accept maybe the manufacturer advises you and says, do this. I don't see any other reason I want to do that. So nice hanging out again with you guys tonight, man.
Oh, you have a point.
Yeah.
Maybe if you want to prevent some disk to fail, and if you have some instruction to reduce the IOPS,
Yeah.
maybe just for a prevention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until you can change the disk.
Yeah. That's another good reason. That's another good reason I agree with. Yeah. It's another good reason I agree with. What about you? I mean, what do you think? Any reason why you want to use this?
The QS.
Yeah, as in for hard disk, not for network. For network, it's
Yeah,
a bit
I mean,
difficult. For hard
that's the
disk,
only thing I can think of because recently I've been studying for CCNA
yeah,
books and stuff.
yeah,
For the hard drive, I'm not really sure,
yeah,
to be honest.
yeah. I mean, for network, it makes sense because certain traffic, they are
Yeah,
different in terms of
you need
voice.
priority or
Yeah, exactly. Voice
Yeah,
and
I agree
video
with
and
that.
stuff like that. But in terms of hard drive processor, for example, look at this setting. I'm not sure why in the world I want to use this setting. Virtual machine reserve processor. So I can go and reserve 10% of my processor. And then the thing when I was reading about this, I thought, oh, you reserve it means whenever there's contention. But then I was reading about it again. What it actually means is that if you reserve 10% processor, that 10% will not be used by any other machine for any other reason. So that 10%, even if this machine is not using it, it will sit there idle. Why will I want to do that?
Unless you give a, I don't know, just you probably publish applications on one of the servers.
Even with that, like, why would I ever want to do that? Because what happens? I mean, the machine can manage itself automatically. What happens if that server that I thought would be really busy, all of a sudden it's not busy? Then the server that I thought is not busy, all of a sudden is busy, and that one is like, I really need processor, but this one is already taking 10% and is not letting go of it. It's like I have 10%.
Yeah, I agree with you because right now the gap in virtualization is memory right now and storage.
Yeah.
Virtualization don't have problem with processor right now.
Yeah, exactly. So why would even like
I don't
even
know.
yeah.
I don't know what is this.
Yeah. So I've not seen any reason for this one. I've not seen any reason why I would want to use it. I'll be interested in reading about any reason why I want to use it. Yeah. Okay, man, guys, thanks very much. Nice hanging out with you guys. I've
Well,
also
thank you
learned
very
a
much.
lot
It was
today, man.
very productive.
Good night,
It was
guys.
Yeah.
very
Thank
close.
you.
No
Good
problem.
night.
The
Bye bye,
recording,
Krishna.
no
Bye bye,
problem.
Annie.
The recording will be
Thank
up
you.
before the end of this week.
You guys are very talented, and I think I have to study more. And yeah, it was my very first hangout. Very good, very productive,
Yeah.
fruitful.
You've not even seen MVK when MVK is showing off his talent. MVK just answers questions anyhow, man. The guy is
Yeah,
no
yeah.
problem, guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
So thank you. Bye bye,
yeah.
guys.
So
Thank
meet
you,
again next
Enrique.
time. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you, Krishna.
Cheers, man.
David, just one more thing.